All right, cool, Brandon. Brandon Cheney, welcome to the show. Business executive in the startup realm. One of, I guess, few people who enjoy it, enjoy the grind, enjoy the stress, enjoy the growth, trials and tribulations that come from being in both actually historically small business owner, entrepreneur, and leading a growth organization. We've known each other for a few years, connected over just sort of the startup scene, and always have a good time catching up, talking about ideas. And one in particular is around process and sort of the work that we've both tried to do. I've tried to do, you've done successfully around the entrepreneurial operating system. So we'll talk about all that and more. But yeah, welcome to the show, and give us your 5-minute bio.
Nick, I appreciate it, man. We've been chatting. I think we met on a panel a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think we're like, I don't know who this guy is, but I think we should probably get to meet each other. And here we are, all these years later, and we're chatting today. So I appreciate it. I look forward to the conversation. 5-minute bio. I'm Brandon Cheney. I'm the general manager, chief operating officer of a company called Inspection Expert, based here in the Triangle. Inspection Expert serves the manufacturing industry, specifically like quality assurance in the manufacturing industry. And we help kind of power the inspection reporting that's required for really any of the high precision manufacturing. So if you think about automotive or medical device, aviation, anything that's really, really critical that they get absolutely right, there's a great deal of regulation that surrounds that around how they document their inspection processes. And that's exactly what our tooling now really helps to solve, is how do we make the documentation process for all this inspection less of a pain in the ass and allow you to get back to the things that are actually helping you make better parts. And that's really how we built up till now. Our next phase in our journey that we're currently working on is how do we take the data that you're already collecting for your regulatory reporting and help to kind of turn it inward so you can actually use this data to inform your business decision-making process. Where are we really efficient? Where are we not efficient? Where can we reduce waste? So that it's not just a necessary evil, but it actually becomes kind of a force multiplier, allowing these organizations to turn their quality departments, what used to be rubber stamp cost centers, into actual revenue centers and actually start increasing profitability, just doing what they have to do. So it's been a cool journey. Again, I've been there about, I think, 4 years. I've been with the company a little over 4 years, and we're in a really kind of exciting second phase, second life, I guess, of the organization as we progress with this new product.
That's great. What's it like being in charge of growth at a startup and being a startup executive, as opposed to other times in your career where you've been, a founder?
I have a much like everybody in the startup community, I have an odd journey in my career, mainly based on failure, that lent me to the software industry. So, I came from, I was in the military for a good clip and got out of there, and I have a passion in life, which is cooking. I wanted to be a chef and make real restaurant money, like I know is out there. And I tried my hand at that and failed pretty miserably, and landed right here in the software industry. And it really took a shine to it, because I think the biggest thing about being, especially in the startup space, is the ability to kind of ditch what you think and iterate very quickly towards as fast as possible towards accuracy. I had a CEO that once used to say velocity is a means to accuracy. So the faster you can move, the faster you can turn the wheel, the more accurate and directional you get to go. And inside of larger organizations, that crank tends to turn very, very slowly. You have lots of disparate silos and kind of sacred cows and hobby horses. And it's a large organization. It takes a lot more to pivot and turn around. So I do really appreciate being closer to the impact point, where you can actually see what's happening, make your corrections, learn and improve and continue to iterate. And so I think that that's one of the most interesting things. I don't know that I could ever go back to a large organization and kind of deal through the bureaucracy. And I'm not sure they would have me either way, Nick, to be frank.
Yep. Well, and so, but startup like leadership is really hard. I think, and I wouldn't say, no one's mastered anything, right? I mean, we're all just sort of on our journeys, but like you've done a really good job. Like I suck at like the actual like leadership. Once you get beyond like, it's just sort of like raw energy and now we have to like implement systems. And I'm not just the one selling to my, family and friends and people. And I've actually gone out and get real customers. And I have to like install a process. And I mean, most people fail at that level because they can't get themselves past it or they can't find that right person who actually gets it, knows it, and then can take them to the next level. How have you been so successful at kind of being a guy that, can come in and not only not let the company fail, and then blame the founder, of course, but they've thrived. You guys have had an exit. I mean, you've got, kind of multiple successful growth stories. Tell me about kind of that experience and like, what's your secret?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think every business kind of moves through its variant phases, right? There's like you said, that kind of just activation energy that comes from a really dedicated and passionate founder that as whether they're a solopreneur, have a partner, or even a small team, they tend to be the driving force. And as soon as you get out of like 4, 5, 6 people, you start to get into specialties. Alignment becomes a huge issue. And I'm kind of I recall back to I think it was Built to Last by Jim Collins. He talks about time tellers versus clock builders, right? And I think that one of the examples our businesses can either be a single genius surrounded by 1,000 helpers, or you can institute systems that actually allow you to democratize and institutionalize the mission and the goals of the business. And for us, when I came in, we had a little bit of that lack of predictability and success, right? We'd step on the gas. Sometimes the car would move forward. Sometimes it would move backwards. Sometimes it would explode. We didn't, but it was a real crapshoot as to what was going to happen. And myself, the founder, discussed implementing some kind of framework or some kind of process that could take this out of just kind of cult of personality or 1 or 2 single leaders. And how do we actually kind of democratize that across the entire organization? And there's a lot of different operating systems out there. I think, I've read and implemented to varying success, OKRs, there's Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, just happened to be one that we gravitated towards, which is founded in a book by Gino Wickman called Traction. And I think the 3 major tenets that we had to establish is like, where are we going? Like, what is the vision? Not just like I close my eyes and here's the picture I paint, but like, what kind of company do we want this company to be? Like, what is the core ideology of this company? What are the values of it? Like, what's our why? Why does anybody care that we're here on this planet? Why do we care that we're here on this planet? And then what are the kind of values, these immutable things that aren't right or wrong, just something that we share, that we want to see instilled in our organization. And setting that vision, which is a big piece of EOS, allows for this kind of common vernacular for how and what we're pursuing as an organization. And it creates a lot of business kind of accountability. Are you being true to your core values? Are hiring and firing and rewarding against your core values? Are you being true to the market? Are you naming a segment that you're going to serve? Who do you serve in this industry? Are you targeting them? Who's your buyer? Who's your persona? How are you serving them? Are you building your systems and your business around serving them? And that drives a huge amount of focus. And the greater focus and the greater kind of that common vernacular is applied across the organization, you start to see a lot more employee autonomy, right? When everybody kind of knows the direction that we're going, and they're really, really clear, it's been defined and documented, you start to see people gravitating and pointing their work towards achievement of these variant goals, whether they're your 10-year BHAG or just even your 90-day goals, or what we call them rocks in EOS. But it allows a great deal of autonomy for really innovative people. If you are bringing in innovative people, you want them to know, what they should be pursuing, what's the most impactful work they can do, how they can measure their success, or else you just become kind of a caretaker for every single employee. Have you made your calls today? What's the status of this release? You end up being kind of a parent to these folks, and it's and smart A players really don't thrive in that kind of environment. And so I think the key for us was implementing this system that objectified our vision and allowed everybody to share it, versus just living, say, in one or two folks' head, or even just the leadership team's head.
Yep. And you've implemented other systems, and this one's gone better than others. I'm trying to get like a delta, like what didn't work in other things and why isn't this, like, is this just an outlier? Like, oh, I just haven't had the right team, the right kind of system, and like, bang, it worked, and ergo I'm a success? Or is it some worked, here's why they didn't, and here's some new things that you've learned that would increase someone else's chance of success, or your chance the next time you try to do it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think the one thing that I think the delta here between the systems I've used in the past, OKRs, for example, I think every organization, specifically startups, are really, really good at just like setting broad objectives, right? We're gonna, or I think the ones that at least are on some path to success too. Like, here's what we want to have happen, and then that's kind of it, right? Like, here's the set of goals. Now go out and do them. What's stopping you from going out and doing that? And what I liked about EOS is it kind of took a holistic approach to, okay, here's the set of goals you want to go out and achieve. Now let's talk about what it's going to take to achieve it. Let's talk about the team you're going to have to build. Let's talk about the things you're going to have to measure. Let's talk about like how you identify what is the blockers, right? Like, let's just give you a framework for like how to have a discussion about what's kind of hosing up your business this quarter and like what's getting in the way. Let's give you a process for like, let's give you a document and a outline for how you can document the processes that matter, so you're not documenting everything that doesn't and forgetting about the kind of 20% that give you the 80% result. The holistic approach of looking at not just what do we want to achieve, but the kind of business that we want to build. So the values that we want to have as part of the business, the why are we here, how we add people, how we measure, and hire people, right? I think EOS is a fantastic right people in the right seats, right? The right people, do they share our DNA? Do they have the core values? Again, not right or wrong. Do they share our core beliefs? And then in the right seat, like, do you get it? Do you get the job? Do you grok it? Like, if you can't get what the job is, then I can't make you get it. If you don't want to do it, I surely don't think I can make you want to do it. But it helps us address things like the capacity issue. Like, that's the last piece. Do you have the capacity to do it? Do you get it? Do you want it? Do you have the capacity to do it? Capacity can be time, resources, tools, professional development, coaching. Those are really, really actionable things that you can help support a team in pursuit of your initiatives. And then just data, like, use a scorecard, man. Like, put a scorecard out of what you expect your business to do on a daily basis, right? The EOS gave us a framework to do that. Not what we hope would happen, not the cascade of miracles, but like, here's what it looks like when, the wheels are on the bus. It helps us uncover issues if the wheels start coming off the bus, but also if we're not happy with the trajectory of our business, we can't just sit there and hope it changes. We have to actually start driving key initiatives. And I think that holistic approach that EOS, those tools that it gave us in that common framework to have a broad discussion across the organization, rather than just kind of an internal monologue with a founder or a CEO or a small group of people at a leadership meeting, allowed it to be a much broader conversation across the organization about what needs to change, how we tip the trajectory of this business, and how we measure that success. And so I think that for us has been the most, that for me specifically has been the greatest delta between, what is your objective versus how do we operate as a business to achieve objectives.
Yep. And in this case, was it like, uh, it was going to work either way? Like, I want to see, like, was there risk to implementing this? Like, man, this could really fuck the business up and we could fail. Or was it kind of like, this train's left the station and we're rolling either way. This is just about like, do we get 5-star rating from our guests versus 4.5, right? So I guess, where was it on that kind of scale of, the value and the risk kind of trade-off from doing this?
Well, actually, let me do this, Nick. Let me flip this question back to you, because you and I,
Yeah.
as we first talked, you were in the process of kind of early stages. We were as well, implementing EOS. Tell me a little bit, like, what was going on, man? What was happening inside of your business at that moment that kind of triggered you? Said, like, listen, we need some kind of different form of operating. And maybe we can see what the commonality is there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was hard to know. It's one of those where you sometimes don't know until it kind of slaps you in the face. And yeah, I guess, gosh, I don't know how best to answer that, but I know, because I'm cheating when I'm ahead, that we didn't have a good shared language and a method to communicate across teams, across departments. We also didn't have kind of our basic construct for like what seats we needed to have. So like, and having a coach kind of come in and help us design the seats and then say, great, let's find right people, right seats. But, it's like, we knew we had people on the bus and we knew we loved the people on the bus, and, but we weren't effective. It was kind of a one person controlling 13 managers in a 50-person company. So it's like, well, that was flat kind of in a good way, but like sort of not. It was very like, there wasn't any structure. It was like the structureless, right? Like one person, like, it was like, I might as well had all 50 people talk to one person instead of having there be 13 other intermediaries. Like, that was just, and so I mean, the language for why that was important, and how we sort of set up goals that mattered for the business. And for us also, I mean, this is maybe not unique to us, but sometimes it would feel bad to put like the business first, because it's all like people, our customers, our values. And then like one person is off in the corner, or maybe there's someone else too. And and we're like stressing out over the business. Like, how do we make money? How do we make payroll? How do we grow profits? But like, how do we even say profits without sounding
Yeah.
like dicks, like we're just not all about that. Like, so, we just had a lot of stuff that was good, and then like very little structurally that was helping us kind of harness that. Is how I'd answer that. But yeah, it's almost like I didn't know. We just knew something wasn't working, and we're like, all right, we gotta keep trying stuff. And that kind of came to us, and it was very effective.
Yeah, I mean, I think very similar. We had a building, we had people, we had a product. People purchased it at some clip. They retained at some clip. Um, you know, but it didn't feel quite right. Like, it felt distracted often. Like, we had a lot of plates spinning, and they were all equally important. Um, as you went one layer down into the organization, like, if we thought a bunch of plates were spinning, they had even more plates spinning, and they thought all of them were important. They wouldn't let any of them drop. And in turn, we were letting so many of them drop. And there wasn't even, I don't think there was a vehicle, or a vessel to even let us know. It was almost a surprise every time something broke, and you'd find out well after. And it's almost like no one knew. And so, like, we didn't have like a systemic approach to managing, monitoring, and moving. Like, like I said earlier, you step on the gas. We're not even sure we had a gas pedal. It may have been like one of those a downhill derby,
Mhm.
racers with no pedal. You're just coasting on gravity, which is fine when the gravity's there, but eventually you get to the bottom of the hill, and you got to climb again. And so for us, the risk, was already there. Like, we were already seeing the plates were starting to spin. They were starting to wobble. Some of them were starting to fall. We were patching things up and holding things up, and just came to the conclusion, look, this is not sustainable. You talked about people. We have people on the bus. We need to add more people on the bus. I don't even know where to add the people on the bus, because I'm not even sure if, like, the back wheel's falling off, or if the axle's breaking, or if we're out of gas. Like, there's so much noise and so many zingers, sirens going off. And we needed to slow it down. We needed to like quiet down and focus on the key issues. And it really helped us uncover early on. I mean, we had great people, but we had people that just didn't share values, right? Some of them were executing, some of them not executing. And one of the key things I think you're talking about is just shared accountability, right? To know where to go in the business when something just isn't working. That's a framework we didn't have. And I'm also really glad you talked about a coach. Like, we brought in an implementer as well. I know a lot of people that have tried to implement some form of system by themselves without some objective coach on the outside. I know of no one personally that successfully implemented it, installed it across their organization, and continues to run it today successfully. And I think the key to that is that bringing in that outside coach really helps objectively look at what your gaps are, and remove, like, we can explain away almost anything to ourselves as we're operating, but having someone bring in and just, no, please explain to me why this is important. Explain to me why this isn't. How are these equally important? Force rank these as the top priorities for your business. Who's responsible for this? Well, I guess I am. Well, maybe I thought I was. And you end up having shared accountability, which means no accountability, or areas of the business that are just kind of completely neglected and not looked after. They are only dealt with when they kind of surface by varying people. So I think we were in the same boat. Like, we knew something was off. We weren't getting the kind of velocity that we hoped to get out of the organization. Even though I think we had a lot of people that wanted to get great results, right? We wanted to focus on people. We wanted to focus on values. The people inside the organization, they wanted to be successful to some extent, if they knew what that meant. And I think that's, again, to kind of it comes down to the leadership, the CEO, the GM, the leadership team, to set the direction clearly for the rest of the organization. And whatever that vehicle looks like, if that's OKRs or Rockefeller Habits or EOS, it is your responsibility as leaders to be explicit and intentional about where your business is going, so that the folks around you and throughout the organization can ask clear questions, get clarity about how they should be prioritizing their day, or else they're just as frustrated that you're not being successful. Look, in startups, all of these folks that join startups, they get equity as a component, and they want to be successful. They're signing up to the dream. Just make sure you give them the tools. They want to work. They want to move in the right direction. Just give them the tools to know that they are. Or else they get frustrated and take off.
Yep. So going back to you, what kind of gave you, whether it was the kind of the business experience and sort of that, but what kind of puts you down this path of being like an operator? And I was like, what's your secret to success? And maybe I should just sort of caveat that with, like, I feel like maybe I am bullish on Brandon Cheney and I'm a buy, but, like, businesses and entrepreneurs need Brandon Cheneys, and they can't, like, if you're just running your own business, you're still running your own business, like, you're failing, right? You've got to find someone that wants to come in and install process and grow the business and take it and run with it. Right. And so many people don't find that. They never find it. They're looking forever. And so you've got some kind of trait, something made you think this way, actually that kind of lays in a bunch of stuff, right? Like, how do people find, how do they go out and put the energy out to bring someone like that? And what should they be looking for? But maybe first what was it about? Like, what's your secret sauce? Like, you're just like a management junkie now. You're looking for like operational excellence and like all this different stuff. Like, you get excited maybe about different things than other people and for different reasons, but how'd you kind of get to this? How'd you get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think
I love asking like 10 questions at once.
Yeah.
So and then being like, stop, go. Yeah. Okay, great. I'm so good at this. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, I'll kind of work backward. I think we can move backwards from that last question. Like, what is it specifically about me? I'm a genuinely curious person about how things work. Much to the chagrin of my my kids and like anybody, my employees at the company, I'm very particular about kind of I like things in their place. I think this might come from I have that background as being in the military, which they drive in, attention to detail. As my career, my short and unsuccessful career as a chef, one thing that I think that was driven into me was this concept. It was a French term, mise en place, everything in its place. That's how you operate super efficiently. You do all your prep, you line it up in a way that you can kind of almost blindly grab at it and move very quickly at scale, right? Anybody's a great home cook, but if you have to put 50 plates out a night or 100 plates out a night, and they have to be identical quality, you start to think about how you prep, how you lay things out, and what your process and systems for delivery are. So I think those things were like kind of ingrained into me. And then, from, I think, as I see it applied in business, especially in the startup space. And I think this is like one of the rare areas in the startup space, like something that I'm very interested. I'm always super curious and intrigued by founders, because I find them like wholly fascinating, right? Like one of the greatest things, almost every founder I've ever met, CEO, like they can see the statue inside the block of marble, right? And they're out there trying to explain, and they even use, you might even have heard terms like this, like, can you see what I'm saying? Can you see what I'm saying? To a broad organization, this person who has this vision of what they want to build, and they're using kind of loose terms and trying to draw up some sketches of it. And you have an entire organization that absolutely wants to pursue that vision, but they don't know quite where to make the first hammer blow. Like, where do we have to make that strike? Where's the second strike? What are the tools we need? What's the roughing out tools? What are the polishing tools that we need? How do we shape, and what are the steps in which we need to pursue this? And I think, to your point, like, there's a lot of visionary folks out there that are starting business. They're operating by themselves. They've started to get some real great product market fit, right? They've got great attachment. Maybe they're even getting to some level of early scale, or even high scale. And it's still a bunch of, can you see what I'm saying? And I think this is where you turn that's the time telling, right? I can look at the stars at any given moment, or the sun, and tell you at this moment, this is what time it is. But as soon as that person's gone sick, working on some other project, and all of a sudden the entire organization doesn't know what time it is. So if you, I think passing that over back to kind of, not to beat up Jim Collins's, analogy here too much, but you need clock builders in your organization. You need people that can take that vision, that you can walk through it with. They can sequence what are the steps that need to happen in order to achieve this, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight. And they can be the kind of control mechanism for the steady hand at the rudder for the rest of the organization, to make sure that we're making the demonstrable and necessary sequential steps towards achieving that, and iterating and reporting up. By the way, it's not a one-way street. Like, it's really, as we all know, as we move forward, we get a bunch of new information. We have to kind of change our operating plan, and how we're going to execute based on feedback from the market or competitive changes or what have you. So that integrator role, that execution role, acts as a fantastic conduit between the vision and what's actually happening on the street, and connecting those two pieces together, so we can adjust the vision or adjust the strategy to meet the vision along the way. So I think it's super important, whether that can happen inside of one person. I'm sure it can. I'm sure there's plenty of visionaries that are also super operator, tactical execution, capable. But I think for most of as we've seen, most of the successful the companies that we've seen have that partnership, right, of vision and execution, working hand in hand together. And I think that's exactly the framework that EOS kind of lays out. They have this visionary role and this integrator role. How do you lay the vision out, and then how do you integrate it across the operating components of the business? And I think you need somebody who's a kind of a little bit of a method-driven person, who understands, that's curious about kind of all ends of the, you can't just dismiss, well, I'm not an engineer, I don't understand engineering, I'm going to write that off. You have to get curious about how engineering works, what they're working on, how they're setting their frameworks. You're not a salesperson, you need to understand that. If you're not a marketer, you need to have some understanding of kind of what's going on in a market. Like, be curious, be learning, but be listening a lot for the signal that you are off track. And I think that that's that perfect kind of conduit role that integrator needs to be focused on.